What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. Today I've got something a little bit different for you guys. Instead of the traditional story time, I'm going to be telling y'all the story of the time a guy survived 133 days at sea. Yeah, that's right. At the time, he broke the record for longest person ever to survive at sea. And most importantly, that's just some incredibly bad luck. So I figured we could talk about it today. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Press the like button or no joke, no scam. You'll get lost at sea, and let's go. You would think that it's illegal. I'm getting quiet now. Laying low when you reach zone, wiping down. Making out, stack the bread, cause you love the sound. Just someone. Alright, so today's story time is actually about a man named Poon Lim. He was born in March of 1918, which is just a little bit a while ago, you know, maybe a couple years or so. And not a lot is known about his early days, but what is important is that during World War II, he was a steward on a ship called the SS Benelmond, which was on its way to New York from Cape Town, South Africa. On the 23rd of November, a U-boat came along and said, "Snap, snap, crackle, and pop, mo trucker," and ended up sinking it about 750 miles east of Brazil, which is where this dude eventually ends up. So, like, you got to imagine he drifts 750 miles at sea without anybody knowing where he actually is. Anyways, because of the fact that torpedoes had been used to hit the ship, it ended up sinking incredibly fast. So he grabs a life jacket and he jumps overboard. The boilers explode. It's all dramatic, dude. You know, every scene from a movie of a ship sinking. He probably turned around and like watched it slowly fall below the ocean. Oh no. Real talk, this thing sunk incredibly fast. Like, this entire ship, from the moment it was hit, from the moment to it going under the water, took about 2 minutes. 120 seconds in between the ship being fine, everybody getting a nice tan on, and it being completely underwater. In fact, it sunk so quickly that only 6 people survived, including this guy. So after 2 hours of just floating in the water in agony, not really knowing what was going on, dude, after watching the ship explode and sink, he stumbles his way, or I guess floats his way, towards this 8-foot square wooden raft. Keep in mind, this is after 2 hours of just sitting there in a life jacket, dude. I really don't know what could possibly be crossing your mind as you're just floating there in a life jacket in the wide open ocean, knowing that there's a good possibility that you don't survive this. Like, up until you get into that raft, dude, that's pretty much GG. A shark's gonna get you, you're gonna get hypothermia, you're screwed at some point. And I can just imagine having to sit there and like come to reality with the fact that you're probably not going to get out of this. That has to be brutally horrifying. So he's been floating for a while and he finally climbs into this 8x8 square wooden raft. And in there is like a couple tins of biscuits, a 40-liter jug of water, which is like 11 gallons, chocolate, some sugar lumps, flares, 2 smoke pots, and a flashlight. I'm wishing he could smoke pot, probably not smoke pots. Lim was ultimately the only survivor of the sinking, so 53 of the 54 crew were lost forever. And keep in mind, it was originally 6, so in between the 6 that ended up getting off the ship, he is the only person that even stood a chance. He's in this boat just kind of taking inventory of everything, and while I'm sure you know chocolate tastes good, he's gonna have to ration all of his food and everything else. He initially kept himself alive by just eating everything on the raft, obviously. Like, he's not gonna go out of his way to have to hunt and do more, but eventually he runs out of water and the food in the raft. And so he has to resort to fishing and catching rainwater, dude. This man is literally living that Minecraft survival life where he's doing his best to just live off anything he can catch. He wasn't exactly well versed in like water. In fact, in particular, it said on the Wikipedia article that he could not swim very well whatsoever, and he would tie himself to the boat while he was fishing or when he was sleeping just in case he fell in. So it wasn't even like he was in a situation where he had a ton of experience. This guy basically had to figure out how to do all of this. He ends up making a fishing device from a flashlight wire. He takes the wire out, makes it into a little fish hook, used some hemp rope that he had as a fishing line, And he would just fish like that. Not a lot of bait, dude, with a wire that had been fashioned into a hook and like a string, dude, which has got to be an agonizing way to fish. Fishing already can take quite some time. I don't know if y'all have ever been fishing, but patience can be required for hours and hours. And while I'm sure there's not much else to do when you're stuck in the ocean, it's got to just be exhausting to have to focus on fishing for like hours and hours at a time. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you have no experience with it. Later on, he ended up digging a nail out of some of the boards on the wooden raft and bend that into a hook for some larger fish. Whenever he would capture a fish, he took one of the biscuit tins and made it into a knife and would cut it open and let it dry out over the raft, trying to like make it into jerky. However, while this was working for a while, one night a storm came out of nowhere and ended up ruining his fish and getting rid of all of his drinking water. And at that point, he's exhausted, dude. He's just barely hanging on for life as it is. The storm comes, ruins his food supply, gets rid of all of his drinking water, and he's so desperate that he ends up catching a bird with his bare hands and drinking its blood and eating it to survive. And somehow this like blood sacrifice, drinking the bird's blood, manages to keep him alive. It's enough for him to get the strength to like get up and do something. Anyways, he realizes as he's eating these birds and drinking the blood that there's some sharks behind him. So whenever he sees the sharks, he's like, all right, I'm not gonna go swimming, but I'm gonna try to catch a shark because sharks are a lot bigger than a fish, you know, that'd be a lot of food. So he gets one of the birds that he had caught as like bait and he uses the meat and he ends up getting this shark into the boat, which isn't even a boat, dude. It's like this tiny 8x8 raft. So now this man has somehow gone from like inexperienced at sea to literally catching sharks and bringing them into the raft. And he gets the shark into the raft and it starts going crazy and attacking him, and he has to use the water jug filled with seawater as a weapon to bludgeon the shark. So like this guy is in full survivor mode, literally doing everything he can to survive. And keep in mind, it hadn't really rained, so he has no water. So after he kills the shark, he cuts it open, drinks the blood out of its liver, and like that quenches his thirst. He slices up the fin and eats some nice shark jerky. This dude was really going through it, bro. All right, guys, I'm gonna interrupt the video for just 1 second. On screen now is actually a gift card. I give one of these away every single day in the video as a way to just say thank you to everybody subscribed with notifications on. So if you aren't a member of a group that already has that on, which apparently 80% of you do not, you might as well hit that button, subscribe, turn on notifications. It's free. You can always unsub, and I'm giving away money, so you got nothing to lose. Real talk, huge thank you to everybody who is subscribed with notifications on. You help out the channel in an absolute butt ton, and it is very much appreciated. And yeah, I will shut up and get back to the video now. Enjoy. To make matters worse, dude, on top of missing his drinking water, and like having to drink blood, all this horrible stuff, he gets passed by vessels multiple times and they just don't see him, dude. The first time there was a freighter whose crew saw him but did not pick him up or didn't see him. Despite him yelling at him, they were just like, oh, that sucks. Anyways, the guy basically says that he thinks they ignored him because he was Asian and they assumed that he was a Japanese sailor who was lost. And another explanation is that I guess, and this is a really dirty trick and I didn't know this, German U-boats, their submarines, would often set a survivor on a raft as a trap. And then like when they would rescue the person, they would sink it, which is so messed up, dude. A squadron of United States Navy planes saw him and even dropped a marker in the water next to him. But his luck is so bad that at the same time they dropped a marker, a large storm ended up coming through and he gets lost again. And then the last time, which is the least lucky, he was spotted by a German U-boat, which is what got him into this mess in the first place, so I doubt he really wanted to be rescued by the same Germans who sunk him. And he just basically was counting days by tying knots in a rope for each day. But at a point, he becomes so distraught and just overwhelmed and has been out here for so long that he just is like, whatever, I'm gonna start keeping track by full moons instead, because it's easier. He had been out there for so long, it was just easier to go by a full moon cycle cycle than it was to count the days. That's how brutal this was. And this is like stuck in the middle of the ocean with nothing to entertain your mind, just sitting there thinking about the fact that you probably should be dead. Finally, though, after 133 days, it came to an end on April 5th, 1943, when he neared land and a river inlet. A few days earlier, I guess he had realized that he must have been getting close to land because, like, the color of the water underneath him had started to change. It went from that super dark blue that you only see in the middle of the ocean and what I assume is called, oh my god, I'm screwed that I'm stuck out here territory, and it went to, maybe I've got a slight chance at survival territory. So he was just kind of nearing the land, and finally 3 Brazilian fishermen ended up seeing him and took him to the major city nearby called Belém 3 days after that. So during this entire time, all 133 days, he lost 20 pounds, but even that considered, he was able to walk when he was rescued under his own strength. He ended up spending 4 weeks in a Brazilian hospital being cared for while, like, the British government arranged for him to get home. And when he gets home, he's, like, greeted as a hero, and they tell him he broke the record for longest time spent at sea. And he told everybody that he really hoped that nobody ever had to break the record because it was terrible. For all of this, he did get the British Empire Medal on him, and the Royal Navy ended up using his story to, like, teach people how to survive at sea. And after the war, he tried to move to the United States, and there was a quota, I guess, on Chinese immigrants at the time, but because of who he was and how he had survived, he ended up getting a special circumstance visa and got a citizenship. And honestly, the dude was just an absolute legend. I would have been a baby and given up on, like, day 2 of being stuck in the ocean, and he managed to do it for 133 days. I just thought that story was crazy, so I figured I would share it with you guys, but that's gonna do it for the video. If you enjoyed, be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought, and subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you want more content, I do have a podcast called the SKUFED Cast. Link will be down below, along with the link to the intro song if you enjoyed it, and if you're in the mood for merch, the Teespring store is also in the description as well. On that note, though, guys, I've got to go get lost at sea, so hopefully I can break his record. Hopefully I'll see you guys all next time with another video. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.